The blizzard screamed around the izba for 3 days. A white darkness that made the world beyond the windows cease to exist. Inside, the silence was heavier. Dmitri watched Anatoly with the focused intensity of a wolf on a trail. The stranger's revelation of the hidden door had not been an act of kindness, but a demonstration of power, a quiet reminder that he understood the bones of their home better than they did. The trust, fragile as an icicle, had shattered. The storm broke on the 4th morning, revealing a world scoured clean and rearranged by the wind. Drifts reached the roof eaves, and the familiar landscape was an alien, sculpted plain. It was then that the sickness came. It started with Babushka Anya, a dry, racking cough that shook her small frame. Then Lena, Kylan's mother, developed a fever, her skin burning to the touch despite the chill in the air. The 1 jar of precious honey and the dried wild garlic they used for such ailments had little effect. Dmitri's face was grim. The nearest doctor was a 2-day tractor ride away, a journey impossible until the snow settled. He paced the single room, his large hands clenched into helpless fists. Every cough from his wife, every ragged breath from his mother was a needle of fear. They were isolated, and illness in the deep cold was a predator more stealthy than any tiger. It was Babushka Anya, her voice thin as parchment, who spoke the unspeakable. "The Cheremisa," she whispered, pointing a trembling finger at a small, cloth-wrapped bundle in Anatoly's meager pack, visible when he had last retrieved a spare shirt. "He has the white moss, the ghost in the snow." Kylan felt a primal fear grip him. Cheremisa was the old Yakut name for reindeer moss, a lichen known for its powerful antibiotic properties. But it was also known as ghost moss for how it grew in the most silent, untouched parts of the high taiga, a place only the most solitary or desperate souls ventured. To the family, it was a thing of legends and old wives' tales, a medicine of the wilderness they knew of but did not know how to use. In Anatoly's possession, it became a symbol of his otherness, a witch's brew. Dmitri's suspicion curdled into certainty. "What else does he carry in that pack?" he muttered to Lena, his voice low and tight. "He brings the silence of the forest, and now sickness follows him. This is no coincidence." A new, terrible rhythm began. Anatoly would rise, tend to the fire with his quiet efficiency, and then prepare a bitter-smelling tea from the shredded white moss, steeping it in a small tin cup. He would offer it first to Babushka Anya, then to Lena. Dmitri watched, his jaw a knot of granite, as his wife, desperate for relief, drank the strange brew. He saw it not as medicine but as a poison, a claim staked on his family's health. The izba became a cage of unspoken accusations. The only sounds, the howling wind, the racking coughs, and the quiet, methodical preparations of the stranger. Kylan was torn. He saw the fear in his father's eyes, a fear he shared, but he also saw the color slowly return to his mother's cheeks after 2 days of the moss tea. Her fever broke in the dead of night, her sweat-soaked brow finally cool under his touch. He washed Anatoly's hands, those same hands that could fell a tree with a whisper, gently lift his grandmother's head to help her sip the bitter liquid. There was no malice in his touch, only a profound, weary patience. The breaking point came on the 6th night. Dmitri, unable to bear the sight of the stranger tending to his family any longer, stood and snatched the tin cup from Anatoly's hands, just as he was about to give it to Lena. The hot, dark liquid sloshed onto the floorboards, sizzling faintly. "Enough!" Dmitri growled, his voice trembling with a fury born of fear. "You will not give my wife your forest poison. Your help ends now." The silence that followed was deeper than any the blizzard had brought. Anatoly did not flinch. He simply looked at Dmitri, his pale eyes holding a depth of sorrow that seemed ancient. "Dmitri Ivanovich," he said, his raspy voice barely audible, "you fear the ghost in the snow, but the ghost is not the moss, and it is not me." He paused, his gaze shifting to the coughing form of Babushka Anya. "The ghost is the cold in the lungs. It is the silence that comes when a breath does not follow the last. I have heard that silence many times. I do not wish to hear it in your home." He reached into his pack and tossed a small bundle of cheremisa onto the table. "The dose is a pinch steeped for 10 minutes. You will do it yourself." He then turned, pulled on his heavy doha, and walked out into the brutal, star-filled cold, closing the door softly behind him. Kylan rushed to the window, scraping away the frost. He saw Anatoly not heading for the woodpile, but for the edge of the taiga, his figure quickly being swallowed by the blue-black shadows of the snow-laden firs. Dmitri stood frozen, the empty cup in his hand, the truth of the stranger Onk's words and the evidence of his wife Onk's improving health crashing into the walls of his suspicion. He had driven out the one person who could truly help into a night cold enough to kill. Inside the izba, the only sound was Babushka Anya's labored breathing. The storm outside had passed, but a new, more dangerous chill had settled within. They were alone again, armed with a medicine they barely understood, and the man who had saved them was gone, a ghost disappearing back into the snow from whence he came.